G'day boys. G'day boys. Can anyone hear me? Who we got in the chat? Kuba. Welcome back, my man. JR. Welcome. The regulars. Love to see it. Bloody love to see it. Someone gives a radio check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Someone give me a radio check. Can you hear me? Me. Hey. Okay, let's pull up the slide pack. Let me just check my kit here really quick, boys. OBS is humming. I see sound on the microphone, which means I'm not muted. I have the live stream starting soon. Sign is playing. I got my PowerPoint up. And we are live. Marty, welcome. Hi. Lots of chaps in here. Marty, Kuba, Darius, welcome. 20mg, lol. Sick name. Cool. Boys, I'm going to send it straight away. Let's get into it because you're probably wondering what's going on. Welcome to the party, Richter. Hi, everyone. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different for this one, for today's live stream. I'm calling it the recasting couch, as you can see on the screen. I'll get into it a bit of detail. Before I do that, though, hi, hello, hey, welcome everyone for jumping on board the streams. I normally do a couple of regular ones, which is the planning room. That's where I'm going into detail on what I'm covering for the next video. And I'll be ticking away at those every Sunday for the last couple of weeks. But I thought I'd mix it up a bit and do another mixed bag all access stream because I haven't done one of these for a while. And I thought about this concept, or saw the idea of this concept, and I thought it might make a pretty sick stream idea. So here I am testing the waters. It's either going to go okay, and I guess everyone's going to dig it, or everyone's going to tell me it's cringe and dumb and I'll probably never do it again and cry myself to sleep tonight. But time will tell. Anyway, without further ado, here's the main title page. One more ado, I will say though. I lock into the slides and then I read the chat. I lock into the slides and then I read the chat. So I'm not ignoring you if you're frantically yelling at me in the comments. It's just that I kind of stick to the slide deck and then I'll go back, flick through and see the comments in the chat. Okay, so that's how I like to do business around these parts. Moving on, boys. So I'll explain this concept straight away because I want to get into it, into the meat and potatoes of what I'm doing. So the recasting room, I like that name. No, the recasting couch, sorry, not the recasting room. That's the planning room. The recasting couch. We're going to take a classic film. It's got to be an oldie. Can't be too new, right? Because there's no point recasting characters in a film that's, well, pretty contemporary. Reboot it with current actors, as the name suggests. I'm reading off the slide, very boring. And these are some of the things I'm going to be thinking about, so I'm not going to verbatim that. But if you have a look on the screen here, this is the stuff that sort of goes through my mind when I'm thinking, if I were to take Saving Private Ryan, reshoot it today or reboot it today, pretty much exactly the same. Same story, same script, same setting, same outcome, obviously same setting. It's a World War II epic. Who would you have play these actors? That's the question we're here to answer today. And, well, I'm here to show you, like, my thoughts on that, right? But I think it's a fun thought experiment that you can play along with in a collective manner. And, you know, feel free to jump in. If you think one of my ideas is trash, good, excellent. If you've got alternatives, I'd love to hear it. And once I've gone through, guys, you'll see I've got a slide deck coming up, which, again, I want to get into pretty quick. I've got a few little rando dudes at the end once I've sort of gone through and shown who I think is going to be the best dudes to replace the characters in the film. Is everyone with me so far? Does this make sense? Is this disjointed? Anglo says, chat, this is me reading chat. Regia Lima Charlie. Regia Lima Charlie. Hearing everything well. I do that every night, so it's okay. Saints, welcome back, my man. What if people think it's cringe and they want you to do it again? That's a bloody good point. I suppose that makes it even more important you do it again. Full disclaimer, I saw this idea on Instagram, actually, where I stole this idea from. It wasn't done in the manner I'm doing it. It was a podcast. Some dudes on a podcast sat around yapping, and they were going through and doing recasting. It wasn't Saving Private Ryan. It was a thriller, crime thriller. I think it was Seven. They were talking about, if you redid Seven today, who would you replace Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, and Kevin Spacey with? And I was like, that's a cool thought experiment. Who would I replace them with? And then I got to thinking, what about why Seven? Let's think about other movies. And then I thought, can I stream this? I'm going to find out. But anyway, how can I stream it in a dynamic fashion? I'm about to show you, hopefully. So here's the slide, guys. It's going to be doing most of the heavy lifting today. But this is also a revision for the film, okay? So keep in mind some of my parameters from the previous slide. I'm going off sort of their age, roughly, their character, their previous work, what they've done up until this point, and pretty much those are some of the key factors why I think they might make a good fit or not. But before we get into the new dudes, let's review the old crew here, right? So this is what I'm calling Miller's squad. I know technically not all these characters are part of Miller's platoon from the outset. Obviously, you've got Upham, who's like their attached specialist. He comes along on account of he can speak German and French, right? So he's attached as interpreter, even though he's not like an infantry at all. And, he shows great reluctance to even take part in the mission. And then Private Ryan, obviously the dude by name and nature, who the film is the guy they're trying to get, right? The whole point of the movie is Private Ryan, but he's not part of Miller's boys. But I think it's fair to say these 9 blokes shown on the screen here, these are the main characters of the film, whether or not they're part of his platoon per se, in terms of them storming Omaha Beach at the very start. So getting into it, I'm not going to read through all of these, but just take note of some of the ages, right? Because pretty much they're all in their 20s for the most part, but the 2 exceptions being Captain Miller, played by Tom Hanks, who was 41 at the time. Next up is T Sergeant, which I had to Google this. It's Technical Sergeant. That was technically their, see what I did there? That was unintentional. This is their rank structures back in the day. They had slightly different, the US Army, that is, slightly different to today. So they had things like Technical Sergeant and Technical, or just Technician. So old Wade, the medic up there, he was a T4, Technician, Class 4 medic. Technically their rank, right? Well, I keep saying, I can't use the word technically when I'm trying to explain it technically. Anyway, what I was getting at is that Captain Miller, as you can see, and Horvath are both on the older side. Well, their actors were at the time of filming. All these ages are clearly not realistic for World War II, soldiers, right? Like the average age of all these ranks would have been substantially lower. I think the average age of a private would have been probably 19 or 20 or something like this. So all these actors, way too old for the characters anyway. But it's one of these things that you can't, obviously, a 19-year, I think it's fair to say, not controversial to say that a 20-year-old actor or a 19-year-old actor is not going to be as good as a late 20s actor who's had more time to hone his craft. Apply that rule to any profession in the world. So they get older actors for a couple of reasons. One, they're probably just more talented. They're better at their craftsmanship of acting. Secondly, it's probably a visual thing as well. You cast some dudes who are 25, 26, 27 to give them that battle-weary look of dudes who are 20 years old but look 10 years older because they've been fighting through North Africa, Sicily, and now landing in France on the arse end of the war and have been there, done that, earned the t-shirt and seen it all, right? And they're not going to, simulate PTSD on these actors just to try and give them like the 1,000-yard stare and get them that much in the zone. So you just cast older actors, right? There's probably a few reasons for that. Before I get into it, keep saying, stop repeating yourself. One other thing, it's hard to these days find, which I'll get into as well. It's hard to find actors, I suppose, in their 20s to replace these guys. Because kind of on a similar note, if you think about it, most of the actors you think, this happened for me anyway, when I was kind of researching this and putting this together, most of the actors you think are in their 20s are actually in their 30s. And the dudes you think are in their 30s are in their 40s. So what I found was that Captain Miller, Tom Hanks and Tom Sizemore, pretty easier. But then the guys playing the younger characters, heaps harder to find suitable actors. But I'll get into this anyway, boys. I'm going to show you the slide here. Hey, real quick, what's everyone seeing on the screen right now? What slide are you looking at? Because on my preview, it always lags and I'd never know what you guys are looking at. So I'm kind of guesswork, just hoping that you guys are looking at the same thing I'm looking at. Can someone describe to me in the chat what the screen says? I don't want to give away the answer. You know what I mean? If someone hit us up, let us know, and then I'll mix it up. The revision slide with all the actors. Thank you, 20MG lol. The boys. Marty McFeels. Welcome, my man. Okay, good. So you guys are seeing it because my thing is showing the starting soon page still. Bear with me a second, boys. I'm going to slide over from PP, that's PowerPoint in the biz, to OBS, where I'm then going to set up the background. So give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I should be able to piss off this PowerPoint and then go click this, click, no, don't click you, click this. Okay, what's everyone see now? Did the screen change for you? Someone tell me what you're looking at, what you're looking at, what you're looking at, because I can't start next part till you can see what I see. Need you to see what I can see. You should be looking at now, boys, the recasting couch title up the top, and then the same thing, the 9 actors with little question mark boxes next to them. Everyone see that? Does everyone see question marks? Yes, yes in the chat if you see it. No's if you don't see it, and then I'll cry because I did this overly intricate thing where I used like half PowerPoint for the start, and now I've switched entirely to OBS for this part. Question marks now, nice. Some blokes with question marks, says Darius. Sick, boys. So we'll get into it. This is what we came here for. This is what we came here to do. As I was saying, hard to find actors in their 20s. Also hard, incredibly difficult to find American actors. You go to look up some of these actors and you're shocked to find out half of the motherfuckers are British or from the UK, right? Crazy. There's so many of the big, I would say A-listers these days that are in their 30s especially, not entirely, but overwhelmingly from the UK. So I guess tip my hat to the British acting scene. But yeah, not too many big name, not that we want big name, but I would suppose prominent or actors that you've even seen and think, wow, this dude's good, I've never seen him before, that are coming out of the States. It's mostly from the UK. Anyway, boys, let's go through in order. First up we have Captain Miller, played, of course, by Tom Hanks. Now, when I think of Captain Miller and I want to replace him in 2026, one of the first people that comes to mind, and bear with me, is, of course, the Star-Lord himself, Chris Pratt, who you can see right there. He's got the military precedence. He's played a Navy SEAL about 1 billion times, Zero Dark 30, Terminal List, I think implied or insinuated ex-Navy SEAL in Jurassic World. So we can do the military thing. We know we've got no worries there. He's certainly like a strong lead man. He's done that before, so no issues. My only pickle with him is man's 46. So we're getting a bit above the age here of what Captain Miller in the show was. Again, I feel they look younger these days. That's another point. Actors now, or mid-30-year-old actors or 40-year-old actors in 2026 look heaps younger than 30 and 40-year-old actors in 1998. Like if you go back and look at James Gandolfini in The Sopranos, when man was like 35 or whenever he started that show, he looked like he's 50. So actors do look younger these days. Put it down to Botox. I don't know. Anyway, 20MG says, I don't know if I can see him in the captain role. I kind of agree with it. I was just saying he's the first dude that comes to mind. But then I get to thinking, A, I don't know about his age. B, I think he's too much of I don't know how else to describe it. He's too Chadley. Tom Hanks is like the everyman, right? He's not an action superstar before he took this role. Tom Hanks had done a bunch of rom-coms. That was sort of his thing. He had, of course, done Forrest Gump in 1995, so he'd delved into military before, but, a character of Forrest Gump. So it's not like he's a gunslinging Chuck Norris type military dude. So I get to thinking, who's someone similar to Chris Pratt, but with maybe a bit more of an everyman style and vibe about him? Ta-da! And if you look on the screen now, you'll see I've teleported Chris Pratt into John Krasinski. Again, has done the military thing before, was in the office for the longest of times, of course, doing the comedy thing, but then did a banger of a job in 13 Hours, of course, depicting the Libya Benghazi. I'm not sure how to describe that event. I don't think it went well for them. Anyway, the battle of the CIA annex in Benghazi. John Krasinski. He's more, I think, aligned with Tom Hanks in that he's got like the everyman face. All right, Thomas Gump. Yeah, I know, I said that. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Maybe we could borrow from the Band of Brothers cast. I'm reading chat now. Marty McFields. They looked more like regular Joes when we had conscription. Now, with all professional force, they mostly look much tougher. True. I can never take the Pratt series because of Parks and Rec. Fair. sorry, getting back to this. John Krasinski, like Tom Hanks, this dude looks like he could be your high school teacher. And especially, you know, he's a good old American boy, like, not a good old American boy. He's American, like Tom Hanks. So this dude could be a school teacher in, I don't know, the buckwheat fields of Idaho or some shit. I don't know if there's buckwheat in Idaho. There is now. My only issue with Krasinski, really, I think he could pull it off. And he does look young, because I don't know about you boys, but I don't think he looks 46, which he is, as of time now. John Krasinski is 46. Have a look at that. 46? 46. Have a look at that young, handsome face. I just think he's a bit old. Bit old, right? So that brings me to, I think, my final pick for Captain Miller. This one might, I don't know, let me know what you think. I'm thinking Adam Driver. For some of the similar reasons why Tom Hanks is kind of chosen in the first place. Tom Hanks doesn't look like a chiseled jaw, Rambo, Colonel Matrix, Arnold in Commando, Arnold in Predator action hero. He needs to look like an everyman soldier captain. Much like Adam Driver. Adam Driver is not a traditional, he's not an action hero at all. He's done action roles. Kylo Ren, obviously, Star Wars, villainous, nonetheless. But he's certainly not, again, a Giga Chad, chiseled jaw, M60 from the hip, run around, mowing people down. You know, these days, the only people doing that really is like The Rock, Jason Momoa, Jason Statham. These sorts of guys who are now typecast into just being action figures, right? I don't think Adam Driver's got that. I think he's got the versatility and range that he could pull this off. Adam Driver with short hair? Yeah, fucking obviously short hair. Bloody Storm on the Beach, Normandy, you're not going to have a ponytail. Yeah, Adam Driver with short hair, buzz cut it off, put him through the Dale Die boot camp, or whatever it is they did before the movie. But Adam Driver, I think, is my first pick for Captain Miller. Second pick being John Krasinski. What do you boys feel about that? I can only see him as Kylo Ren, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's the trouble with guys like this. But to that, I would say Robert Pattinson, who for the longest of times was despised because of pretty much Harry Potter and then Twilight. And I'll admit, I thought the same thing. I thought he was just like this nerdy dude who played vampires. And then I started seeing Robert Pattinson act in I suppose, teenage girl movies. And the dude can act his tits off. Similar thing with Adam Driver. You see him as Kylo Ren once, but then once you see him do something else, very distinct from Kylo Ren, you realize he can act his ass off too. And for him, Kylo Ren, one of my favorite films, Adam Driver, one of my favorite bits with him is, oh my God, is it Black Klansman? Hilarious. Great film. It's Adam Driver and, I forget his name, Denzel Washington's son. Is it David Washington? Main dude in Tenet, the antagonist in Tenet. Great film. I think Adam Driver's terrific in that. The most recent thing I saw Adam Driver in was this terrible zombie movie. I didn't catch the name of it. One of the most pretentious pieces of dog shit I've ever seen. I think it had Adam Driver and Bill Murray. If someone wants to Google it, it's not worth your time. I don't even recommend watching it. But that was the latest thing I saw Adam Driver in. You know, he did a good job, but the movie was just ghastly. But anyway, I'm going Adam Driver for, I almost said Captain Willard. That's Captain Willard. What is that? Apocalypse Now. I can't imagine him in this role. My imagination just cannot visualize it. See, I think sometimes though, that's the best guy you need, because I think the easy pick is to just pick dudes who have played soldiers before. And don't get me wrong, I've done that a few times on this list. But I think like you got to give these dudes their flowers and let them try and rise to the occasion, right? And you got to remember too, on that note, a lot of these guys on the main screen here we're looking at, they hadn't done soldiery type roles before. So probably similar conversations are going on around these guys. But I'll get to that in a bit anyway, in a bit later. Okay, let's move on to Tom Sizemore as Sergeant Horvath. Okay, so he's the gruff second in command really to Tom Hanks. He's not so fiery is the word, but he's like a very confident, assertive, alpha type personality, right? So you need like someone with presence who's going to wrangle in the crew, particularly the dynamic between Horvath and Ryben, the character underneath him there. which notoriously comes to head during the the attack on the radar station in the film, where they tragically lose Wade, rest in peace. But anyway, so I get to thinking, bring Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, has aura, has confidence, has that like gruff delivery to his voice, everything, right? It's Clint Eastwood's son. He's got that gruff genetics in him. He looks like Clint Eastwood. He's Clint Eastwood Jr. So you get Dirty Harry playing this role. It's going to work out. My only problem is I think Scott Eastwood's almost, again, he's too handsome for this character. Tom Sizemore is not a heartthrob leading actor man. Prior to Saving Private Ryan, Tom Sizemore, I think he'd played a cop or a DEA agent or an FBI agent about 3 or 4 times in various supporting roles. I think Point Break, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Long Kiss Goodnight, one of those. I get them mixed up. Tom Sizemore hadn't really done soldiery stuff. He'd done Heat, probably, was the most prominent thing just before this, 3 years before, in 1995, from memory. But, Scott Eastwood, I think he'd pull off the character well, especially holding that aggressive edge. But I think he's too handsome. He's too Chadley. So that kind of brings me, if I go the opposite direction then, from Scott Eastwood, then I think, well, if I'm saying he's too bloody good looking. P.S. Scott Eastwood's 40. Doesn't look 40, does he? But he is. Again, one of these problems. You think all these dudes are like 20 or 30, and then they're heaps older than they are. Jesse Plemons, boys. Again, not like Scott Eastwood, but like Tom Sizemore. Certainly not, how do you say it politely? Not conventionally attractive Hollywood heartthrob. Certainly a very capable actor. Probably most renowned from Breaking Bad. I would suggest when most people, certainly me, first came across this chap. Where I saw him most recently was Begonia. And I only watched that not too long ago. It is a new movie. I think it came out last year. And his acting in that is through the roof. It's incredible. He is a really, really credible and capable actor, a master of the craft. He's about the right age. Jesse Plemons is 38. Scott Eastwood is 40. So Tom Sizemore was 35. So 38, 35, not too shabby. I think he could pull off the aggression needed from the character in those moments, but I think he'd do it in a different way. Jesse Plemons, that is. Like, he's more got that, like, seething, I'm a psychopath, I'm really actually angry, but I'm still, like, smirking at you, but I'm seething underneath it, I might just kill everyone in the room, but everyone knows that. So I think if he could channel that, he could pull it off, but it would just be a very different performance than Tom Sizemore. But this was like my next line of thinking, right? But I still don't think he's the best fit. So then I got to thinking, who else is there that I've seen that's like a really aggressive sort of character that can stand face to face with someone else, in this case like a subordinate, have a screaming competition. Again, think the scene from the radar station attack in the movie. And that brings me to, here we go, transitioning now, bring, Jack O'Connell. First British actor on the slide deck, can't be helped. I went into this wanting to keep them all American. I just can't do it. There's not enough. So blame Hollywood. There's not enough American actors doing it. But this Jack O'Connell dude, he's from the series SAS Rogue Heroes, Rogue Legends. I'll happily confess I haven't seen SAS Rogue Heroes, but I feel like I may as well have watched it, because every time I'm on YouTube Shorts or on Instagram, all I'm getting served up is SAS Rogue Heroes shorts and reels and clips. So I feel I've seen hours of this dude's acting in that show anyway. But what I have seen him in is Sinners. And he does a bang hot job of that, of an American accent, which is important. And secondly to that is, what's it called? 28 Years Later. The Bone Temple particularly, because he's in the first 28 Years Later, but he's in it for 5 minutes at the end. The second 28 Years Later film, the one I think came out this year, again, he's terrific in that. He's menacing, he's a villain, genuinely scary. But then when you see him in this SAS Rogue Heroes where he plays Paddy Mayne, I think Captain to Major Paddy Mayne is the rank he's going through in the film, or maybe Lieutenant, who's one of the founders of the SAS. They were started off in North Africa, they were hooning around in jeeps, blowing up German planes, this sort of thing. The dude is just incredible in that. He's not, I don't think he's full Irish. I think he's mixed. He's half Irish, half British. I think he's doing the Irish character because he's acting. But incredible. The way he does that role, and just, again, what you see of him engaging with the other troops, and he's always delivering a speech and a sermon, and he's portrayed, I think, a bit more crazily than actual Paddy Mayne was, as this sort of madman who recites poetry. He's hyper eloquent and all this sort of thing. But this dude here, again, just, I think he would kill it. Imagine him, not even Southern, just, I don't know, broader continental American, United States accent, and him versus whoever's replacing Ryben in that scene on the radar station, and I think he smashes it. Jack O'Connell, by the way, is also 35, same age as Tom Sizemore. What do you think, chat? Jesse, that's interesting, but somehow I can see it work. I think Travis Fimmel would be good too. Travis Fimmel, interesting one. I didn't look up Travis Fimmel, but I suspect he's like mid-40s. I like his character in Civil War. I'll confess I haven't seen Civil War. Yeah, Jesse. I haven't seen Civil War, but I know Jesse Plemons is in that because he's like the crazy soldier guy. You know what? Maybe I was subconsciously channeling that because I've seen that scene. That's the what kind of Americans are you? And he's got those crazy red glasses on, right? That's Jesse Plemons. Yeah, I haven't seen Civil War, but of course he is in that. Yes, that's the one. He would be the role. I can see it, says Kruber. Cool, I've got a bit of consensus. No one's having a shit fit about Jack O'Connell as Sizemore, which I think was one of the... Actually, it's not one of the tougher ones. Like I said, I think there's more options for Hanks and Sizemore, but I felt pretty pleased with this. Once I thought about Jack O'Connell, I was like, this dude would kill this role. Assuming he can pull off the American accent, which I think he could. Unfortunately, I've got to go. I'll definitely be watching the fight. Before I do leave for Tom Hanks, I want to throw Russell Crowe into the ring, even though he may be a bit too wild. Darius. Yeah, Russell Crowe, the GOAT. But I also agree with you, man. Man's way too old. I think he's pushing 60. And he's not in the best of nick these days either. Okay. No one hating on Jack O'Connell. Let's move on. Next up, we've got Ryben. Ryben's character is a fiery, New York, hyper-confident, takes no bullshit, the senior private, right? Like, he's going to call out shit whenever he sees it, and he does so many times throughout the film. He's the one who questions the validity of the mission. Why is Ryan's life versus 9 of theirs, or 8 of theirs, or however many they have at the time? He gets in the full-on screaming match confrontation with his platoon sergeant after that attack. So he's a fiery character, right? Very assertive dude. So we need someone who can kind of channel this. I've got a few options here. And this one I'm not fully locked in on, so I'm going to show both. Let me pull up both here, boys. Actually, I'll do one at a time. So the first one here, this is sort of, it's not Wildcard, but it's different. Ew, I hit the other one. Let me hide him. This dude here, you might not recognize. This is Cooper Hoffman, young actor, 23 years old. You probably never heard of him. Son of the late, great, I almost said Philip Seymour Hoffman. Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. This is sort of one of the ones where I tried to get a bit more creative of, right? Instead of just picking dudes who've played soldiers for everything and, you know, guys we know are proven quantities. I kind of trying to went the way they did for the original film, which is a lot of these guys who were in their 20s, they were unknown actors. They hadn't had big breaks, aside from Sizemore and Tom Hanks, right? But this dude here, Cooper Hoffman, what I saw him in that I thought was excellent, the film wasn't, but his performance was The Long Walk, which I think came out this year or last year. It's how would you describe it? Dystopian horror, I suppose, based on a Stephen King book. Dudes just walk through the countryside and the last dude alive wins and everyone else gets shot along the way if you don't keep up on the walk. That's it. That's the premise. It's like a futuristic hellscape America where they do this annual tradition, kind of a Hunger Games sort of vibe, right? That would probably explain it well. Anyway, he's the main character in that, and he does a really good job. For how young he is, it comes across as sort of a much more confident, experienced dude. And when you're watching that movie, The Long Walk, it's a dumb premise. It's a crap kind of movie overall, but the performances are really strong. It's really interesting, the dynamic between all the characters, as insane as the situation is. And this guy here, he brings it, and he does really, really well. So he's a guy who could, I think, if he can dial in this, and why I say this for Ryben, in the long walk too, he's this same sort of hyper assertive, very confident, very strong. This is shown in the film too. Moral compass, speaks up for what he believes in, calls other people out for what he thinks is bullshit. And I saw that's kind of similar thing in Ryben. Like this guy speaks up for what he thinks, you know, goes with his gut. But he's a bit young. He's 23. Maybe not too young, right? But Ryben was, I think technically he was PFC, so he was a bit older than the other guys. He was 29, right? So a bit young, could go either way. But the other one I want to show you for this is, and this is sort of the opposite direction, this chap here. Let me move Cooper Hoffman a bit and go bring. And now you should see Joseph Quinn on screen. Joseph Quinn and Cooper Hoffman for Ryben. I can't decide between these two because they're kind of bringing two different things to the table. Joseph Quinn, bit older, so at 32. But again, this is where I'm cheating because, man, the good-looking 32s, like, you know, he could pass for being late 20s, definitely mid-20s maybe, right? So actors, again, these days just look younger, I feel, than they did back in the 90s. So yes, he's 32, so I'm cheating the ages a bit, but I think he could certainly pull off a late 20-year-old, which is what Ryben was in the film. This dude, obviously, in most recently, I think, Warfare, and I haven't seen it, but he's also in the Fantastic Four, so I'm not going to speak to that. But what I did think he was terrific in was Gladiator 2, where he plays one of the crazy twin, what are they called? Caesar? Is it Caesar? I can't remember. The Emperor. Emperor? Yes. He's in Gladiator 2. He kills it. There's this other thing. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen that behind the scenes interview he does for Fantastic Four? When it's that him and the other dude, the co-star, I can't remember the other. I think he's another British bloke. And he's a British actor too. And he's like cracking him up. He's making him laugh because the journalist is like, and I just gobbled it up. I couldn't help it. I was gobbling it up. And he like starts busting up laughing. The other dude's cracking up too. It's one of the greatest videos I've ever seen. Anyway, this dude's a good actor. Stranger Things as well is probably where you recognize him. And I think if he could pull off, well, we know he can pull off the American thing. He could bring that sort of intensity to the Ryben character to be a good counter to Jack O'Connell above him. So picture Jack O'Connell as Sizemore, this dude here, Joseph Quinn, as his subordinate, insubordinate subordinate, and they're having like a face-off, right? You need dudes who can sort of match each other's energy and feel like they're plausibly, neither of them's going to get an inch. And I think these two could do that. What do you reckon? Saint says, he's in the long walk, right? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I assume you're talking about Cooper Hoffman. Yeah, well picked, man. I would not have, I'll be honest, I didn't know his name until I saw the long walk, much less that he was Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. But I saw him in the long walk and I was like, this dude's, I don't know, he's got some potential ahead of him. There are plenty of British and Australian actors who convincingly can play Americans. Yeah, 100%. So I'm not worried about, you know, I think that's probably one of the easier things for them is just pulling off the American accent. It's more that I wanted to, where possible, I would have liked to have used as many American actors as I could because all these guys in the original film are American actors. So just in keeping with the theme of the original casting, to be honest. It's not to say that I don't think the British and Australian or Aussie actors can't do it. I think it's factually fair to say that it's certainly easier to do an American accent from these different countries' actors than it is for an American to do an Australian accent, most certainly. British, I think, is a bit easier. But yeah, Australian accents get struggled with. There's only a couple of times it's been done well, most notably, I think, by Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we got, moving up to the top middle column here, Private Jackson, the resident sniper from the crew, right? He's kind of like a stoic, strong, silent type. Again, he speaks his mind, not as much as, say, Ryben down the bottom left. He'll sort of wait for group absolution and wait for the group to kick in and everyone else start chirping up, and then he'll get involved in it. For the most part, though, he's sort of just, he's doing his introvert thing. He's hanging back, doing his, he's doing his prayers and he's doing his sniping bloody, but he's not like boisterous. Let me put it that way. So I've got a few options here. The first one, this is a wild card. This is a wild card before the wild cards, but hear me out. Angus Cloud. Now, this dude here is one of those crazy, like, authentic actors. I should say was, because tragically, man's dead. First problem we've got here in this casting. Overdose, stage 25 in California. Rest in peace. Anyway, this dude's big from Euphoria, which I have not seen, right? But I know Euphoria is a big deal show because it's Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, blah, blah, blah. But what I have seen him in, what kind of jumped out at me was Abigail. The movie's called Abigail. It's a, how would you describe it? Go watch Abigail. It's a terrific film. Excellent film. It's a vampire movie, but he stars as one of the, I'm not sure henchman is the word. He's one of the mains in that. And when I saw this dude and his acting, I was like, is this like, who is this dude? Is this just like a dude off the street? But I don't mean that in a negative way, as in he can't act. It's like this dude seems really self-assured and it's just like a guy playing himself almost. And that turns out what it is. They recruited this dude, recruited him, hired him, I think for Euphoria, and he literally was a dude walking through like New York or some shit. And they were, I guess it's like vibe, thought his vibe was sick, and then he became an actor. Now he's dead, tragically. Anyway, he's uber duper got this authentic thing, right? If he could pull off the World War II, dialogue and inflection and pronunciation, because his thing is he was like just, the mumblies zoomer. I thought he was like a SoundCloud rapper as well, this kind of thing. And so he obviously died, so he never got a chance to find out. But if he could shift that energy into the period piece work of like a World War II soldier, I think he'd smash it. But alas, he is no longer with us. So instead, the second option, and I think this is kind of an obvious choice, but an easy choice, Austin Butler. Austin Butler kills it. Again, a older actor in this case. He's 34, so certainly older than Barry Pepper, who played Jackson, was in the film. But man, don't look 34. I think Austin Butler at 34 could pass for a late 20s World War II sniper quite easily. And I think just these guys, even they have similar vibes, similar look. If you get Austin Butler to put on his southern drawl, I think he kind of goes for that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when he plays Tex, right? I think you could totally pull off something similar and then really kind of nail this. I'm the southern enigmatic stoic sniper dude for the section. Only problem is he's a bit older. What do you boys reckon? Reddit. Butler's a great fit. Yeah, I think it's the obvious fit, but I think it's the right fit. You get what I mean? Like, there's not too many others jumping to mind for Jackson. Okay, moving on. Next up, we've got Ryben. No, not Ryben. Mellish. Mellish in the middle here. So center row, center column is Private Mellish. Now, part of Mellish's important story arc is he's obviously the resident Hebrew for the section. So he's the Jewish dude in the section, in the squad rather, who finds at the very start there's the like Hitler Youth knife that they recover off one of the, I guess, Hungarian soldiers at Omaha Beach. And he starts weeping and breaking down. And then later on is this like a Chekhov's gun? I don't know. He gets killed by a knife. I don't know how much you meant to read into that. Probably none. But anyway, the point is that this dude's Jewish faith is important to his character arc and story in this case. So we got to get some of the Hebrew actors representation. And of course, one of the biggest going around at the moment, not to say it has to be the biggest actors. I don't want to just get the big names. But the obvious one who comes to mind here is the Chalamet. You might recognize this man from Dune, and most recently, which I have not seen, Marty Supreme. And he got, some would say, Oscar snubbed this year. But what I do like Timothée Chalamet from a lot is The King. It's just called The King, right? Netflix, The King. The Battle of Agincourt on Netflix. It's him facing off against, I mentioned it before, Robert Pattinson. Terrific film, and he does a red hot job in it. And I think he could kind of bring that. He's like a New York wise guy, right? Or he's like a Broadway trained New York actor, I think. So he could bring that sort of energy to this character as well. If not Timothée Chalamet, then for no other reason they're kind of similar in looks, and he's a proven quantity from another World War II film is this chap here, who I've now clicked on in the middle. You should see him. That is Logan Lerman. And you'll recognize him, of course, as Norman from Fury. He's the rookie tanker gunner in Brad Pitt's tank, and they all bully him relentlessly because he's new and he sucks. But he does well in that, right? As the like bewildered rookie. I think it would be cool to see him have another crack at a World War II film where he's playing like the seasoned, salty veteran. So imagine in Fury, right? He was obviously much younger when he did Fury too, so his age was befitting of the role. Man's now 34, again, older than the original ages, but look at him. Does he look 34? Absolutely not. Man looks 25. So I'd like to see him. Imagine him. He's done Fury. Now go back to another World War II movie with some experience under your belt, and then pull off that like grizzled veteran. So now he would be the equivalent of John Bernthal's character in Fury, who he starred alongside. So I think eventually, this guy does beat out Chalamet, I think, just because of that, his past experience. And also I just think he looks a bit more the part too. Like Chalamet he's a funny, strange looking duck. Very dark eyes, almost black. And he's got a very pointy chin. Chalamet's weird, right? Because I don't know. I think he's a Hollywood heartthrob. Very boyish kind of features, you know. He's not like a rugged Hollywood heartthrob like, say, your Scott Eastwood or someone like this. So I just think that this dude here, Logan Lerman, I don't know, man. He just looks more everyman to pull off that World War II character. What chat says Gal Gadot. Who's this? White Wolf 44 Alpha. Yeah. Yep. Should be bloody red hot in here. Junior says Gladiator 2 was okay, but him and Denzel Washington killed it. Yeah, man, I thought Gladiator 2 sucked, to be honest. I thought it was trash. But yeah, he was good. Sorry, Joseph Quinn, that is. He was really, really good in that. And yeah, Gladiator 2 kind of bummed me out, man. It was like one of these sequels that felt like a ChatGPT written script kind of thing. We want to do everything we did in the first movie, but just on a bigger scale, bring back everything that was good, and then some things that we think might be good. Man. Okay, next up. Saint says, so Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Capazzo, right? This one's tricky. Okay, so we got Logan Lerman there in the middle. Let me scroll over to my list here. Okay, boys, hear me out. First up, two options. I'm going to show you both. First up, we have, and at risk of just using the entire cast of Stranger Things, because they're the only child actors that probably everyone recognizes, as in they were child actors and now they're in their 20s. So they're pretty much at the right age bracket to be playing these characters. We have, of course, Gaetano Matarazzo from Stranger Things. Terrific Italian-American actor. To me, I think is the obvious first choice. The first person who thinks to mind if I ask you, hey, we're redoing Saving Private Ryan. We need actors in their 20s to play the soldiers. We're rebooting it. And we need someone to play an Italian-American soldier. Who's that? What actors have you got? And you go, well, it's this dude. Who else is it going to be? Can anyone in the chat, anyone name another Italian-American actor in their 20s right now? Fucking none. They don't exist, right? So your choices are thin for this. But that aside, I think, to be frank, I haven't seen him in anything aside from Stranger Things, which is obviously like, you know, he's a child actor. With that said, from what I linked to it, man is, again, he's Broadway trained, right? Like, he cut his teeth on the stage. He's not just like a bum who cuffed it. Like, he's been acting a long time, and he's got stage presence as well, or stage experience, not just like, what would you call it? I don't know, didn't cut like an easy path just doing like some gammon television show and then worked his way onto the big leagues with Stranger Things. He did theatre, right? So he's got chops. But yeah, aside from like the ethnicity angle, there's not too many other choices there. The only other way I thought to go with this was, so Gaten Matarazzo here is appropriate age-wise as well. So he's currently 23. So on the younger side, but I still think workable, noting that some of the actors were around that bracket. I think Giovanni Ribisi was 22, so he was even younger at the time of him playing Saving Private Ryan. If not Gaten Matarazzo, then we're going to go with this chap right here. Let me adjust them a little bit, because I'll leave both. Bam, Charles Melton, who you might recognize from Warfare. And in my case, that's about all I recognize him from. He's in a bunch of, are they not rom-coms, teen drama type stuff, Riverdale, TV shows like this. I might have seen a smattering of Riverdale. I can't remember when. It feels like the kind of thing I wouldn't have been watching, but someone, the lady in my life at the time would have been watching it, but it wasn't me watching Riverdale, I bloody promise. Anyway, I haven't seen much of his TV stuff, but he's obviously from Warfare. And why I thought this dude here, Charles Melton, uber handsome dude, you know, he's got that Chadley sort of presence, which Vin Diesel has. Everyone knows Vin Diesel's actually a munchkin, like he's 4 foot nothing. But, you know, in the films, Vin Diesel is a Chadley character. Even in Saving Private Ryan, this was his breakout role, I think. Super iconic voice, Vin Diesel, and like he's a man's man in this especially. So this is the two options I think you can go. You go Gaten Matarazzo for the Italian American angle, which is what Vin Diesel's sort of playing in the film. Vin Diesel, it's himself too, is, I think in his own words, sort of ethnically ambiguous, right? I think he's like part African American. He's also got some Italian in there, but you know, he can play like he could get away with playing a few different ethnicities. I feel much like Charles Melton shown here. Not to say that he could get away with playing as many different ethnicities, but I think he's sort of in a similar vein. If you need like an ethnically ambiguous looking actor, I think his actual heritage is Korean. I think he'd be a good choice. Someone who's a strong, like Chadley person to fill this role and looks the part. I think one of these two chaps here. One for the ethnicity reasons or the lore of the film reasons, right? Like you want the Italian American, you go with Gaten Matarazzo. If you want sort of the same character type, like the ethnically ambiguous dude in your squad, but he's also like he's a handsome Chadley dude who's strong moral compass. He tries to rescue the girl, gets shot for his troubles. I think Chris Melton, another good choice. What do you reckon? Dude's got bone max cheeks. Yeah, he's been bone smashing for sure. I've seen this shit. The bloody they do these days, it's fucking nuts. Smashing their faces with hammers and all this sort of kit. Absolutely bonkers. So Dwayne, sorry, I just had to say it when you were talking about Jewish representation, hence Gal Gadot. Yeah, role was promised to her. Moving on from Gaten Matarazzo and Charles Melton. Who we got next? Wade, the medic, played by, of course, Giovanni Ribisi. Was 22 at the time of filming, so was on the younger side. Youngest, in fact, cast member. Kind of tricky, this one. I've got a few options. So I'll show you both. First one here. Okay. This chap I've just popped up, top right of the screen now is what you're looking at, next to Giovanni Ribisi, Wade the medic. Jacob Bertrand is this dude's name. Again, without just cheating and picking all actors in their 30s, I want to try and pick some actual age-appropriate actors where I could. Jacob Bertrand is 26. You might recognize him from, which is the only thing I recognize him from, Cobra Kai, the series, which, like any other millennials who grew up with the original Ralph Macchio Karate Kid way back in the day, like I did, you were probably pretty pumped to watch Cobra Kai, the series, when they brought back William Zabka and Ralph Macchio, and now they've been slowly bringing back all the other villains and all the other characters from the original. Hilarious. Great fun. The child actor side of it and like the high school drama, not so much. I get why they've got to do that. They can't just have like the old boomers who played in the original show and make it in the original movie and make a show about that because no one would watch it except for like, I don't know, the 5,000 millennials in my shoes who like would think the nostalgia is there cool. So you got to have the young actors there to appeal to a newer audience and capture a younger audience. I get it. Anyway, this dude is one of those younger actors, but I would say that he's one of the more interesting ones, and I think he does a good job. So this dude plays, what's the stupid character's name? Hawk. He's got a mohawk, believe it or not. I can't remember his actual character's human name. That's the nickname. But he goes from being like the bully, the punked, bullied kid. He's got a cleft lip, you know, he has no confidence, he's ugly, he hates himself, everyone hates him, He starts doing karate and he gets some nous about him, and then he shaves his head into a mohawk and he gets the girl and he's like a badass and he's fighting. But as cringe as that all sounds, like, he does a good job, this actor, Jacob Bertrand, of showing that sort of transition and that character evolution. And he's got sort of there's the angst in his performance, which I think you need in a guy like Wade, who there's the sense that he's yearning for approval, right? Like, he tells the story of, there's that weird sort of, it's not weird, it's almost oddly timed, but he's telling the story about how he's waiting for his mum to come home from work and he was like pretending to be asleep, and I don't know why I did that. And now you realize he's talking about that, and you're thinking, because he's probably worried or suspecting that he's never going to see his mum again. He's going to die over here in the fields and rubble of France. And it's one of these things. So I think this dude, Jacob Bertrand, could bring that sort of, maybe not trauma, but that emotion to this part as well, because he certainly does in Cobra Kai. At 26, he's about, at a good age to kind of make this work as well. Next up we have Bing. Should see both now. Austin Abrams. Man here is 29. So again, one of the few actors in their 20s who are apt for these roles. Where I saw him recently, or you might remember him from Walking Dead. He plays, I think, in like the middle seasons, I think around when Negan is terrorizing them. And he's, I think, a mate of Carl, as in Rick Grimes' son, Carl. He's one of the friends. So that's his child actor role, yeah? But I saw him more recently, if you remember Weapons. Anyone who's seen Weapons, the recent horror film. Excellent film. It's pretty good. I thought it was hyped. I thought it was maybe even overhyped, because I went into it expecting like gold, and I got silver. But I think, honestly, the only reason I was a bit let down is because of how hyped it was. It was you got to see Weapons, it's crazy, the scariest movie, best movie ever. And I think it is a great film. Sorry, it's a great horror film. I don't know, it wasn't that great, I didn't think. Anyway, he plays like the crackhead in Weapons, and he kills that role. He nails it. Just the sort of stammering, like, retard, lack of better words. There's a scene where he's like, who's the dude? I can't remember the other actor's name. I looked into him as well, but he's too old. The dude who plays the cop, and he's like, hey, do you have anything in your pockets? I don't want to get pricked. And he's like, no, man, there's nothing, no, bro. And then he puts his finger in the pocket, immediately gets pricked by a needle. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, knocks him out immediately. Anyway, he plays that role really well. And this is sort of one of those ones where I just think it would be a cool experiment to see a dude going from playing a junkie so good like that. Let's make him now this sort of World War II medic who is, he's passionate for his job, his role, his cause. He's trying nothing but to keep his team and his friends alive. Let's get him something with that like emotionally charged energy. And I think he could do a good job just because of how good a job he did of being a junkie who discovers a basement full of possessed children who are used as weapons to murder people around the town. But these two I can't really decide between, so I'll leave them both up there. That is Jacob Bertrand, Hawk from Cobra Kai, and then Austin Abrams, who, again, I remember as the junkie from Weapons. Okay, let me check chat real quick. The representation was promised 3,000. Yeah, chill out. I'm going to get a bloody band. Taron Egerton with an American accent might make a good choice for Wade. That's a good one. I like Taron Egerton. My only thing with Taron Egerton is I think he's old. He's mid-30s as well. And I didn't want to creep into the 30s for Wade, especially because, well, he was 22. So, I've slipped a bit above the age bracket for some of these other dudes. But Wade, Giovanni Ribisi was 22 at the time. I want to kind of keep him on the younger side. But yeah, I agree. Taron Egerton is pretty good. I did watch a not great movie with him just 2 days back, actually. Friday night, I watched it on, it's called Alpha? No, Prey? No. It's called Alpha? It's him and Charlize Theron running around the outback of Australia. It's not the outback. It's like the mountains just outside Sydney, New South Wales. And he's a psycho and he's trying to murder Charlize Theron. And it was not great. He does a decent job. So does she. But I don't know, man. It just wasn't a good film. It felt tired. You know, it wasn't really anything new. Anyway, moving on to the next one, we've got Upham. Okay. And again, like I said earlier, at risk of just doing the entire Stranger Things cast and crew, Upham is going to be Finn Wolfhard, who you'll of course recognize from Stranger Things and probably not much else. Except the other thing I did see him in, which I think he does a good job in, which is It, as in spooky clown, scary. He does a good job in that, and he's a much, maybe not much different character, but he's a smartass. He's like a wise, cracking kid in It, way more so than in Stranger Things. Like he's got the potty mouth, and he's the part of the friendship group that's like runs their mouth and says the naughty words and sort of gets everyone else laughing. Right, the class clown sort of almost bit. So a very different sort of character to, not very different, but more edgy character than he plays in Stranger Things. Obviously, very different rated shows in terms of violence and content and all that sort of thing. But I think this dude, Finn Wolfhard, would just do an excellent job of playing a coward, and that's really all you need to do to play Upham. Like everyone loads Upham as a character, but I think that's ultimate credit to the actor and how well he played him. That, you know, he's just this quivering mess who found himself somewhere he didn't want to be and ended up pretty much getting his mates, or not really his mates, his adopted squad mates killed through utter inaction and cowardice, man. I don't know. It sounds rough, but that's what it was. So I think this dude here, Finn Wolfhard, could channel that same energy pretty good. Controversial? What do you reckon, boys? Agree, disagree. Don't care. I've read it. Taron Egerton. Okay, moving on. Next up, we've got Matt Damon. And I think for Matt Damon, there's only one. There's an obvious choice, but I think it's the easy choice. And Matt Damon is going to be, wait, let me drag it and then let me click. Tom Holland. It's got to be Tom Holland. A few reasons. Matt Damon at the time he was a star already. So Matt Damon was one of the few younger cast members, as in not Sizemore, not Hanks, that had large-scale success. I'm pretty sure he'd already picked up an Academy Award for... He'd done Good Will Hunting already. I don't remember what year Good Will Hunting was, but I know it's before Saving Private Ryan. He'd certainly done Good Will Hunting. He might have even picked up his award for it. So an Academy at least nominated actor by now slot into that role. Matt Damon at the time, I think I've forgotten from the previous slide, I think he was 27, late 20s as well. Tom Holland, time now, we've just got in time, is 29. So he's just on the upper edge of that 20s age bracket, but it's a similar thing. For the Private Ryan character, you want a familiar face that you know is going to pull off this kind of everyman role, he's not the reluctant hero, but like the film, he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't think the mission is fair either, or just. So he understands sort of why they've been sent, but he almost equally thinks it's bullshit. Much to the chagrin of the dudes in the squad, like Ryben, who, as he points out, like, hey man, we lost 3 dudes fighting our way to bring you home. You're going to fucking get in the truck and go home because I don't care about, like, that you want to stay and fight. This has all been for nothing just to get you out of here. So I think Tom Holland would pull that off really well. I don't think it's a stretch to almost say that he's sort of like... Actually, it might be a stretch to say he's a modern Matt Damon. But these two characters, at least, I think he would slot in and do that role pretty well. What do you reckon? Comments. 20MG says, but Upham is such a real character too. I mean, it's really easy to freeze up like he did. Yeah, that's, again, to the actor's credit, he portrays that really well in that he is a flawed character and that he freezes up like you said. But whether or not that's... you're saying, what's your assertion? It's a real character. Yeah, that's fair. I don't disagree with that. But I suppose it doesn't make him a good or valiant person. Freezing up is generally not a trait that you desire in a combat soldier. Let's be real here. But yeah, certainly it's a real take, not suggesting that that doesn't happen. But it's also real to call it for what it is. Saint says, growing up is realizing Upham is in fact a coward little shit who got his mates killed. Real. Matt Damon wasn't a star when casted. I think he was. I think he'd done Good Will Hunting already. Not superstar, mayhap, but he was getting up there. The big army of Rothman first in the Battle of Tara, cooks and admin stuff took up arms. I could kind of see Tom Holland. Yeah, nice. Will Poulter would make a good rhyme, but he's a bit old. Yeah, so again, Will Poulter was a dude I thought of when I first think of this list, but you start looking into it, man's like 35. So all the dudes that first come to mind, they're all too old. But I suppose it makes sense because the guys you think of, they're sort of getting star power. And to get star power, they've got to have been in the biz for a while. So they're going to be in their 30s, which I think is when they really start picking up most of their momentum. So there's not that many actors in their 20s that are stars. But with that being said, again, we don't want stars. So we've kind of got to go for dudes that we see potential in who can fill into these roles and sort of you imagine them in this character. It's almost like you're taking a risk on them. Listen to me talking like I'm fucking Spielberg and I'm actually like interviewing these dudes for the movie. But you boys get what I'm saying? Like, we've got to sort of, I think it's easy to just pick all big A-listers, but digging a little bit deeper and trying to find some of the age-appropriate actors who maybe have not as much experience, but you really think like, hey man, I could see this dude like in this World War II setting just killing it. You get what I mean? I think Good Will Hunting came out after he was casted, but might be wrong on that. Well, let me fact check right now real quick. Matt Damon. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm Googling. I don't think you can. Matt Damon. I'm Googling it real quick. Fuck me dead. How long is his Wikipedia? Where is the filmography? It doesn't even have a... Okay. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. Golden Globe for... In 1997, when he and Ben Affleck wrote and starred in Good Will Hunting, which won them the Best Academy Award, and the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, and the Golden Globe. So yeah, Good Will Hunting in 1997. So they won the goddamn awards for that, man. So that's not too shabby. You get what I mean? Sorry, I just wanted to confirm that because I was pretty sure, pretty confident. I think Good Will Hunting came out. I read it. He was in Courage Under Fire, and Spielberg saw Damon and wanted him in that. There you go. Courage Under Fire, that goes hard too. Makes sense that, you know, he saw him in a army guy role or soldier role and wanted him in another soldier role, so that's pretty cool. Because not a lot of the other guys had done soldierly type stuff. Okay, moving on, boys. I'm going to bring in some wild cards. These are dudes that I thought were... These are just dudes that I think are cool and could fit in somewhere, but I couldn't actually slot them into a place. So I'll show you. I'll show you all of them. This dude here. Oh my God, what's it underneath? Oh, I'm going to have to move him up the top. I'll drag him big. And I'll drag him up here. No, I won't. I'll leave him small. You can cover Mellish. This chap's name is Kyle Gallner. I thought of this dude. I didn't remember his name, but I was like, he's like an up and coming actor. You see him just in heaps of stuff, but you never know his name. You never recognize him, but you know he's got chops. You know he's talented. Dude's 39, so he's more appropriately aged to play the captain than anything else. But I don't think he'd make a good captain. But he's one of these guys. I think if you could make him younger, which, you know, he looks, I think, much younger than 39. He could probably do one of these other roles pretty good. Maybe a Ryben, maybe another Wade, something like this. Oh my God, I can't remember what I've seen him in. But I know that he's in something I do want to see. I haven't seen yet, which is he's like in a horror movie. It came out the last couple of years, the Long Sweetheart Kiss, Run Sweetheart Run, something like this. I can't remember. Very pumped up or very hyped. Not only it's indie horror, smaller horror film that he's in. I'm keen to see that. I can't remember what else I've seen him in though. But anyway, he's just one of these guys, right? You see his face and you're like, oh, I've seen this guy in something, but I don't know his name. I think he's a good actor though. Next up, we've got... I didn't show you on the screen. My bad, boys. There he is. Sorry. He was in Courage Under Fire. Someone should have yelled at me and let me know I didn't click the button yet. There he is there. I'll make him big again. I was wiggling around on my OBS, what do you call it, preview screen, and getting excited and forgetting that I hadn't clicked the button to make you guys see it yet. So this chap here, that is Kyle Gallner, perhaps. Next up, this dude here, I'll drag him over, Upham. Show. Ty Sheridan, age 29. I think has the same, how would you describe it? Everyman, but handsome everyman looks. It just looks like a dude you went to school with, right? Maybe played football or something like that. So this dude's 29, but you'll probably recognize him. The main thing I recognize him from is Ready Player One, which I think was a child actor. He was late teens, I think, when he did Ready Player One. But got some good acting chops. And I think too, just based on again, he's that everyman, looks just like a dude from some, I don't know, Midwest high school, plays lacrosse or some shit, which is probably 90% of the dudes who are getting drafted to go and fight in World War II, right? So I think he's just a good look and a good fit for one of these roles. Which one? Could be a few, right? Hell, could even be Ryan, now that I look at him sitting there above Matt Damon. But this guy here, Ty Sheridan, I think another contender for one of the gigs. Last one here for the Wildcards, I'm calling these. So these are sort of the ones that I didn't have exactly a good fit for, but wanted to chuck them in anyway. Last one is, I'll put him over the top of Kyle Gallner. Click. Dan Stevens. Terrific actor. British actor again. Didn't realize he was British till you Google it. But Dan Stevens is from... He also shares the screen with... who was it in... Cloud. Angus Cloud in Abigail, the vampire movie. Dan Stevens does a great job in that. He's sort of the pack leader of this. They're a bunch of mercenaries or criminals. And he's sort of the henchman or the lead man of that. But Dan Stevens, I think most iconic and best role to my mind, is The Guest. If you haven't seen The Guest, go look it up. It slaps. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It's probably top 5 for me. Go into it cold. I'll just say that. Don't Google it. Don't get a hint. Go into it cold and just enjoy the ride. It's one of the earlier... I'll give you the genre. It's horror thriller, but very character driven. And it's action in a way. Go into it cold, boys. I don't think you'll be let down. If you haven't seen The Guest, starring this bloke here, who I just dragged big so you can see even bigger, Dan Stevens, you're missing out. It's an incredible film. And that's about all I've got, boys. So with everything said, I'll delete the wildcards because I don't think I can have them. Is there anywhere I can have them? Oh, here we go. I'll put them around the edge. Wildcards going to the edge. Where's the last wildcard? Oh, yep, Kyle. Here we go. Shrink you down a bit there, mate. Sorry, fella. Get onto the edge. And I'll also drag the other ones around so you can see everyone I had in mind for some of the... I'm dragging bloody Chris Pratt's head enormous. Okay, so now you should see Adam Driver, Chris Pratt, and... What's his name? Krasinski. And drag them up a bit more, and then show you that. And then I'll also drag out O'Connell and Eastwood and Plemons, so you can see them. There you go. Yeah, I'll put him up a bit more. There you go. Just want to cover anyone. Oh, who did I hide? Nah, Angus Cloud's a bit of a not silly choice, but I think, I'll leave bloody, what's his name? Austin Butler up there where he belongs. That's, I think, the list, boys. What do you reckon? I read it. He was encouraged on the fire, and Spielberg saw Damon and wanted him in that. I'm pretty happy with this. I think with what I've seen, there's probably other good options, but I only wanted to sort of do really well, actors that I've, for the most part, seen at least in one thing, right? I think it's a bit gamut otherwise. I think this list is pretty good. I think this list is pretty good. Anyway, I'll wrap it up, boys. I don't have any more to cover on this. I didn't want this to be an uber long stream today. This is the Recasting Couch. Let me know what you think in the comments if you're watching the VOD. If you think it's got some potential as a follow-on, let me know. If you think it sucks and you hate it, let me know. Either way, it's another idea for streaming stuff that I can or will or maybe will not continue doing in the future. I think it's more so going to come down, honestly, to the type of movie, though, because you can't really do this to just any flick. You need sort of these ensemble cast, big, team-driven movies where every character is unique and almost brings something different to the table. So that's why I thought also Saving Private Ryan was the obvious first choice for this format of live streaming. Aside from this, boys, we've got the next video coming up, which is the Battle of Winterfell. It's not a spoiler anymore because I've been updating the thumbnails for the live streams on that. We're up to the battle plan in terms of the live streams and the videos, and I've been grinding away at that, and I'm very soon to start the animations. So that'll take me about another week and a half, 2 weeks. Had a bit of a busy real life period with a day job and the other stuff. It's kind of made progress has not been slower than usual. It's just I've been more locked in for this one. I really have. It's just I haven't had as much editing time outside of the day stuff. But I am focused on this one. It's not like the last one where I kind of I got sidetracked and I had like weeks where I wasn't doing any editing, doing any writing, nothing. This one I've been pretty thoroughly, slowly chipping away at. It's just that there hasn't been much time to do said chipping, but I've been staying consistent where I can. If there's no other questions, boys, or no other comments, Saint says, the guest is great. Yeah, it's incredible. I'm glad you've seen it. No, it's one of these movies, for the most part, too. No one you know who's seen The Guest. You're the only other person I've ever spoken to that's seen it. The Guest is goated. No other questions or comments, boys. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for jumping in live. My boys, my regs, the Saint. Who else did we have at the top? JR, of course. Darius. Kuba, my resident Polishman. And there was, where'd he go? Marty McFeels. He disappeared, but he was in at the start. Thanks to the regs. Thanks to anyone else who jumped in here, boys. And I'll see you for Wednesday when I'm going to be doing a bit more Far Cry. Or I'll see you next Sunday where I'll go back to doing another, what are we calling it? Planning room. And I'll show you what I've got going on with the battle plan for Winterfell. If there's nothing else, peace out, and I'll see you all on the next one.